Hey, everyone. Well, a wonderful day to you, I hope. I'm so excited. I got to spend this morning with you with Dr. Edwin Cordero, too, who is the president of Sherman College. It was fun starting my day like that. And, praise God, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning anyway. And then I happened to look at my schedule today. I'm like, oh, I totally forgot. Like I had a coaching call at 5 a.m. and then I had the Facebook Live at 6 o'clock. So good thing I always get up really early because I didn't check my schedule last night, evidently. But I am super excited to have Dr. Lindsay Mumma with me. She is one of the Birthfit regional directors, and Birthfit North Carolina is, can we call it your baby? Like kind of your baby, Lindsay? Uh-oh. I think we're stuck. Are you still there? We just had the best conversation before everyone joined us. At least she's stuck in a beautiful smile on her face. So while she's kind of figuring that out, and Lindsay, perhaps you can still hear me, I'm going to catch all of you up to speed on some of the things that we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about BirthFit because it's an amazing mass movement helping families, especially women all across the globe. As well, we're going to be talking about postpartum depression. I saw on Lindsay's Facebook page that they are climbing something, an event she is supporting is Climbing Out of the Darkness, about postpartum depression. And so I want to make sure that we touch on that topic as well. And as you join us, if you can tell us, like, what kind of a Monday have you had? If you have questions about BirthFit, now is a great opportunity. Post your comment. I'll post it right to Lindsay, and we can answer your questions and direct you in the right place. If you're part of BirthFit, please say, hey, I love BirthFit. And we'll be sure and give you a shout out. So Lindsay, while you were away, I said that you were going to come and do like some complimentary BirthFit workshops all over the world. So just so you know, you signed up for that. Just
good to know. I'm going to have to check my calendar, but
that's right. Tell my husband, you may want to mark everything off on your schedule. All right. Yeah. So welcome back. So let's first start with, how did you get involved with BirthFit, and what do you love so much about it?
I'm going to answer the second question first, if that's okay. Because it's a shorter one, and that's just everything. We really are. Like one of my favorite things about it isn't even like the amazing work that we are gifted and given the opportunity to do, and like the people that we get to work with, because those are all such wonderful things. But one of my favorite things about BirthFit is that it is such an uncomfortable organization to be part of, because you will get called on everything, because like we really pride ourselves on being a growth oriented organization. And it has changed me so much, because it causes me to never just get comfortable with the status quo. And I always said that I wasn't. Like I like to question, right. I like to kind of to feel stuff out. I'm like, well, why would we do that? And why would that be happening? And I think that's kind of, like what led me to be a chiropractor. But when it came to myself, I was a little less open to those things. But I mean, it's just like, it's been basically 4 years of mindset work for me. Like re-examining who I am and how I show up in the world, because, like at the end of the summit, so we just had the BirthFit summit was last week. I don't know. I feel like I still have the BirthFit hangover from it. You attend the BirthFit event. There's a BirthFit hangover for the next while.
That's awesome.
Like after the summit, we examine, okay, what went well, and then we celebrate those things, but what didn't go well? Like what could have been better? And it sucks a little bit, but it's also so great, because you can never get any better if you keep doing the same things. Yes. And I think in practice, in life, and in any kind of extracurriculars, we tend to just keep doing the same things over and over and over again and expect different results. But, so that's my favorite part about BirthFit, is that it's opened up my eyes to all of the things that I was completely fixed mindset about. And so the book Mindset by Carol Dweck talks about a growth mindset. And it's one of those books that is required reading for BirthFit regional directors. And it's recommended reading for anybody that I come into contact with. And it has nothing to do with birth, and it has everything to do with birth. So that's my favorite part. And then how I got involved in BirthFit. Can
I do a speed bump for a second?
Yeah.
What are some of those areas where, like you thought you were like, yeah, I'm comfortable. Like I'm doing good. Like my husband and our family is good and my practice is good. But then when you're exposed to something else, it's kind of like, whoa, I really could do some growing here. What are like those top things that have shifted first in your mindset and now in your life since being a part of BirthFit?
That's such a good question. I don't want to just blanket state it with everything, but that's kind of what it is, because when you have a growth mindset, you recognize that everything is an opportunity for growth. Yeah. And so even like my growth mindsetedness, that's not right. But even that has room for growth. Like I can always reinvestigate things. And so it's just, it makes life a continual practice. And so you're never stuck in one place. And, one of the biggest areas, I guess, has been with finances, probably because I was stuck for a while in, I have this mountain of student loan debt, and like just stuck in that kind of scarcity mindset about, I went to chiropractic college and it just piled up, and now that's what I have. And instead, I look at it now as an opportunity. Like, hey, we basically have a second house that we don't live in, and so let's pay that off.
Nice.
And so instead of it being like something that defines me, it's now just a thing that I'm working through. And it took me a long time actually to really decide that like I wanted to make money, because I really like to help people. And if people need my help, then I want to help them. But I think having kids really kind of put that into perspective of the people who need my help and can't pay me live in my house and they're very small and they're very cute. And there are people who need my help and can't pay me. And we're actually kind of looking to figure out how we can reach more underserved areas with BirthFit, but, charging for my services and really putting a value on my time and my experience that I bring to the table to help people. That it was like last year that I decided, I was like, you know what, Lindsay, I think you're going to make money. I think that's a good idea. I think maybe just stop paying off your loans, not stop paying off your loans, continue paying off your loans.
I'm not doing my mortgage anymore. I'm not doing these bills.
But just stop looking at that pile of student loans and look at like what's on the other side of that, and not just getting there and then what, but really just looking at how much I have an opportunity to move forward.
I love that. Yeah. And hey, Dr. Callie, welcome. It's so great to see you, doll. Thanks for joining us. I think you bring up so many points. When we look at debt, I think especially something like a student loan, like, hello, that simply means that you now invested in yourself in order to help a ton of people and make a bunch of money. So at least wise, it really does pay back dividends, but you got to work it.
Yeah.
It's like a home. You can't just we're in this like forever home. We bought a house that had been in foreclosure, because whatever is the most run down, that's the one my husband and I say, we'll take it.
That one looks
good. Yeah, that one looks good. I remember actually our other home, we have a home that we rent to a military family. And when we went to look at it the first time, and he said, we'll take it. I was like, with me? Like, are you sure we're going to do that?
I'm signing up for this too.
Yeah. And, it was really, this is like totally off subject, but I guess this is an encouragement as a mom of 20 somethings compared to a mom of little kids. You know, like I remember, like, so my husband and I would work all day. We'd come home, pick up the kids, go to that house, work till late at night, then drive home. And our kids, like, this is no joke. If they were seeing it right here, they would attest to this. They would thank us for being able to work together as a family. Like, they've always learned to work, but just how it made them feel, and like having such huge changes every single day. So I encourage all of you, if you're raising little kids, teach them to work.
Yeah.
It really gives them so much value. And that's one thing that I really love about all of you, Birthfit. Like, one, we have a lot in common. I find I just adore all of you, and there's also a growth mindset that like Grant Cardone talks about, that success is our duty, our responsibility, and our obligation. And there's no way that we can fulfill that if we aren't continually growing. Like, we must. Hey, Chelsea, it's great to see you again. And Lily and my sister-in-law, Kirsten, great to see all of you. Thanks for joining us. That, you know, there is this constant, and we must keep growing. That Heath Eaton work ethic. Yeah. That is true. So let me ask you this. So as a part of Birthfit, so it's not just pregnant women. It's not just women who want to be pregnant, and it's not just women, right? Like, Birthfit is more a consciousness than a thing. Is that about right?
I would say it's both. And I think that, but like the kind of tagline for the Birthfit podcast is way more than birth, way more than fitness. You know, for the sake of branding, Birthfit makes sense. Like, but when people think of fitness, they really tend to think of being physically fit. And we're talking about emotional, spiritual, spinal, neurological, you know, mindset fitness, and having a physical body that is ready for the task that is at hand. And so we specifically work with women in the motherhood transition, but we, you know, my husband actually just went to the Birthfit coach seminar in Northern Virginia. And we actually, as part of the coach seminar, we watched my second birth video. We had a home birth, and we have an incredible birth photographer, Amanda Ditzel. I just give her a little shout out. She, like, if you ask my older son, he was at our birth, and I'm so glad that he was, but he says the video is a lot quieter than it was in person. He will tell you it was much louder. But, you know, I actually put everything together, like videos and pictures, and it's to music, and it's lovely. And so they watched that at the coach seminar, and we watched it in the professional seminar too. It's a nice video. It's like 10 minutes of just birth goodness. And so since my husband was there, they asked him if he could answer a couple of questions. Because one of the coaches that was there was like, was that hypnobirthing music that I heard in the background? And so he stood up and he told me, because everybody sent me text messages and they're like, oh my gosh, Chris just talked and everyone's crying now. And he told me that he stood up to talk and started talking about how it doesn't matter where you are in your life, you can incorporate the 4 pillars of Birthfit, which are fitness, nutrition, chiropractic, and mindset. And you can incorporate them into your life and into the people that you work with and the people that you love into their lives. And if you do, that, you know, great things will happen. He said, but I was still talking and I kind of blacked out. And then I came to and I was crying and I was still talking. So I guess he kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent about how it doesn't really matter if you're pregnant or postpartum. If you're actually being intentional about the way that you live, then you can benefit from the ideals of Birthfit.
That's awesome. I love that.
Pretty awesome husband.
So his Birthfit Hangover actually happened at a different time than your Birthfit Hangover.
Yes,
It
yeah.
sounds like his was like in the moment.
Yes.
So, a subject that I haven't really talked much about, because obviously Matthews and I have done a couple of Facebook Lives, and then Melissa and I think, have done a couple.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you and
with
I
Molly
will now
too, right?
do. Yeah, and then Molly too. So I don't know if I have the record for like the most Birthfit interviews.
The most Birthfit touches.
I just am so enamored with all of you, and I just absolutely adore each and every one of you.
The feeling is
here's
mutual.
the subject we haven't talked about. And it's, I saw it on your Facebook page, and so I want to go there, and that's postpartum depression. I honestly don't know that much about it. I mean, by God's grace, I had like super easy pregnancies. I didn't like being pregnant at all. Like definitely not my thing. My births went absolutely not the way that I had ever planned. But I have two amazing kids despite that. And in terms of like postpartum depression, I've never had it. And I'll admit, I kind of almost, until I met some women that I really have a lot of respect for who struggle with postpartum depression, I kind of felt like it was suck it up, buttercup. Yeah. But now I'm realizing like it's not that. Like it's not just the woman who is, this is really hard. It's a real thing. So can we go there? Can we talk about postpartum depression and clinically, what is it? And what has been your experience?
So we actually, like, we tend to refer to postpartum depression, but it's actually like a gamut of things. And so we have, they're known as PMADs, so perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. And we learned a lot from Dr. Alyssa Berlin. So do you know Elliot Berlin? He's a chiropractor. He's also a doula, and he did like Heads Up and Trial of Labor, those documentaries. He's awesome. His wife is a perinatal psychologist, and she's amazing.
Oh,
she actually spoke at the first Birthfit Summit. I learned so much stuff then. And then she came back and she spoke at this one as well. And she just has so much valuable insight on these things. And I've actually done a couple of webinars this year to learn more about it, because I think that it's becoming more common, unfortunately. And I don't know why that is. I think it's kind of one of those perfect storms of there's a lot of things happening and there's not a lot of support for them, and a lot of stuff gets brushed under the rug. So I think in part we're more aware now that people need help, but at the same time, a lot of people are still kind of ashamed. Like if your arm was hurting, you would do something about it. But when your brain and your heart are hurting, we don't really pay as much attention to it. But so we kind of have some really great tools that Dr. Berlin had given to us in terms of like recognizing when it is something that's really serious that needs further help, and when it is just you really need support during postpartum because it's a difficult time no matter how well things went. And so one of the really great things to differentiate is to find out that, because she mentioned that it's actually more common to have postpartum anxiety than postpartum depression. And that is usually more prevalent because women are getting, kind of overwhelmed with the what ifs, and they really start to go down the anxious path. And so if a woman says that even if she had a hotel room by herself and she knew that her baby or babies were taken care of, if she couldn't go to sleep, that's kind of a red flag, because everybody is tired postpartum. And if everything was taken care of for you and you still couldn't go to sleep, that tells us that there's probably something else going on other than just overwhelm of postpartum. And I say just overwhelm with postpartum because that's a pretty heavy burden to bear sometimes. But so if you're working with someone and you discover that, I'm so tired, but I can't even go to sleep at night. And then you can ask them, like, if they actually had a support and setup and everything in place, and they had a dark room and it was comfortable and everything was perfect and couldn't go to sleep, then that's a referral that needs to be made. They need some additional help, because like there are so many things that will assist with postpartum depression that as chiropractors we are offering. We're offering safe space, and obviously we're working with the nervous system, and we are supporting mom in a physical and non-physical way. Movement helps, nutrition helps, but if they're to the point where they are outside of our scope, that's one of the ways of finding that out. Another thing that you might hear mom say is that like their baby would be better off with a different mom. And it breaks my heart to even say that, because I had a patient say that to me. And I like in the moment I was so like, I couldn't believe it that she actually thought that, because I'm looking at her and I'm thinking like, you're working so hard and you're, doing all of these things for your daughter. And she, they struggled with a tongue tie and had come to me after a couple of weeks, and she was like, she just kind of was at her breaking point, and said that she just didn't think that she was the best mom for her daughter, and went on to say that she thought that her daughter would do better if she just had been born to a different mom. And like, that's a lot to hear. And so, but then recognizing like, okay, she needs more help than what I can give her. Because she does need all of the support that I'm able to offer her. And like, I actually set up her meal train for her because they were really struggling, but, that I needed to refer out. So
in an instance like that, were they really struggling because, dad had a demanding job and there were other kids in the home and they had no family help, and it was, like, or was it just like because of her postpartum depression, she wasn't able to show up and do all of the things that, a mom would normally do. So then it was just like compounded, or was it like, yes, Barb, it was like all of that?
It was all of that. So she, the mom who specifically said that to me, was a single mom. And so she, her plate was overfilled. But like there are other instances where a woman is very well supported, but things go out of balance and she isn't able to, maintain her head above water, so to speak. So the climb out of the darkness, that's what you had seen on my Facebook page. Yeah. That is, that's put on by Postpartum Support International. And there's a branch in North Carolina, and like the event itself is to bring awareness and raise funds for Postpartum Support International so that they can help, more and more women and families, because PMADs affect males as well. Like there are, and I've come across a couple of dads with postpartum depression and/or anxiety. And that one is a little bit harder too, for me anyways, because typically I see like, oftentimes the dads that I see are as a result of the moms that I see. So like I've already heard some things from mom before dad is coming in. And then I kind of put the pieces together and then I'm offering support. They're not always as apt to take it. But usually, they need it. But that event, it's called Climb Out of the Darkness because that's kind of what a lot of people describe. Like when they, like the fog lifts whenever they kind of get everything balanced so that they're able to see as they had seen before instead of like being buried by this darkness and fog. And so it happens, around the summer solstice so that it's actually the brightest day of the year. And it's just, I'm expecting that it's going to be a beautiful event. I'm looking forward to it.
You bring up a really good point about, I think like a forgotten part of the whole birth process, and that's dad. Mm-hmm. Like here he's had his wife's probably attention and he's had, like all of this, and then she has a baby. And I mean, I think probably when a baby is brand new, it's probably a little more fun for mom, right? Like the gratification of nursing and knowing that like my baby has to have me. Like there is all of that, you know, like, so then that bucket of ours is filled. Right. And then, you know, a little tiny baby doesn't really do a whole lot. And so God, I think, you know, imprinted our hearts to somehow get more joy out of that when they just look the same as you did like 6 hours ago, but I still really think you're cute. I'm going to take 100 pictures. Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, the non-birthing parent, there was a doula from the New York City Doula Collective who was on the Birthfit podcast a couple of, I don't know if it was a couple of weeks or a couple of months ago. I listened to it a couple of weeks ago, but I think it was a little bit older. She talked about how they had support. So she and her partner were looking towards postpartum and like the support that they were wanting to have. And I believe it was her mother-in-law was going to come out. I don't remember if it was her mom or her partner's mom was going to come out, but they wanted those first 2 weeks. And the reason why was actually like, when she said it, it was so brilliant because they wanted those first 2 weeks to allow the non-birthing parent to bond with baby, because during those 40 weeks plus weeks of pregnancy, the birthing mother is bonding with baby and she's feeling the kicks all of the time and she's feeling the movement and she's able to, you know, have this relationship that is responsive to her baby in an immediate sort of way. But then after baby arrives is usually when the partner is able to start to create more of that bond. And I thought that was really beautiful because we really do think about the postpartum period with the birthing mother and, you know, obviously with nursing and establishing that relationship. But, you know, partners have oxytocin receptors too, and they can just as easily begin to bond and create a nurturing relationship with the baby, obviously without lactating, but, you know, they can still create that relationship. And in those first 2 weeks, instead of having outside help come in, they wanted to kind of struggle. They wanted to have a little bit of that challenge of like, okay, what are we going to do? Nobody's here to save us. We're going to have to figure this out. And you're going to learn baby's cues just as well as I am. So I thought that was kind of a really great idea.
That is,
you know, and like having those first 2 weeks of like, this is just going to be us and our cardinal family and our family unit. And then after that, then let's bring in hordes of support.
Yeah.
We're still tired and we will need restores on food.
Yeah. You know, it's always amazing to me that this little tiny creature can demand so much out of all of these adults, right?
Yes.
Like hey, Molly, welcome. Thanks for joining us. It's amazing. And we're all happy to do it.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Drop everything.
To do it. Drop everything. I have no agenda. I have no thoughts for myself. Let me just cater to all of your little things. And we would do it again and again and again and again. I mean, that's part of the process. That's part of the bond. That's part of that. So I think that's awesome. And let's clarify something. So we've used the word support several times in this interview. And as a chiropractor, how do you, like, what is that support? Because it's really easy to get kind of sucked into somebody else's world. Meanwhile, you know, your husband and your kids need you and your health needs you and all of that. So let's walk through what does that look like as you're serving your practice members and offering that support? Because I don't want anyone to watch this and to feel like, oh my gosh, I have to change everything and now I just have to support, and then they drop, you know, like their self-care or their family. Because honestly, my opinion was that somebody else's health wasn't more important than my own and my kids. You know, like what you were saying, like if someone's going to get it for free, the only people who are getting it for free are, you know, I birthed here in this home kind of thing. So let's talk about that support.
So a couple things that I do within my practice, that I kind of put out there. So like, I don't advertise it. Actually it might be on my website. I don't know. I have to check that, but like, I don't put it out there like, hey, I'll come and do home visits, but I will tell women in my practice, hey, if you need me when you're in labor, I'm not on call. but if I am available, I can come to you. And so I'll do home visits, but I'm not on call. And like, I have had people reach out, like one, a doula contacted me on a Sunday morning, and I had a little bit of a cold, and I was like, I'm not going to go to a pregnant woman right now. Like, that's not appropriate. I would be not helping as much as I was possibly hurting. I don't want to be in that scenario. And my associate was actually able to go, which was great. But like, there have been times when I wasn't able to go, and that's perfectly fine. But I'll do it too in the first 2 weeks postpartum. Like, if they need adjusted, I don't want you to leave the house for those first 2 weeks. So I will go to you. It's not something that a lot of people take me up on. They're happy that, okay, at 2 weeks, I'm going to go and see Dr. Mumma. This is my outing that I'm going to do. But that's one of the ways that, like, I will go out of my way to support. But other ways are, like, I'll sign up if they have a meal train or like Give in Kind, one of those links where I can sign up and take a meal to your family. I'll do those. But probably the biggest thing that I do is I block an extra 15 minutes. So my follow-up visits with patients are 15 minutes of time with me. And I block a half an hour for mom's first postpartum visit. And then I'll do 45 minutes if baby is also going to be getting adjusted. But I book extra time because I want her to talk. And she's probably going to have to nurse, and she's probably going to have to change a diaper while she's there, or like right before she gets there. So I let them know, like towards the end of their pregnancy, like, just so you know, when you come in again, we'll have more time to talk after baby gets here. I want to hear the birth story. I want you to tell me whatever you want to tell me. But also, if you're late, that's okay. And if you have to nurse when you're here, that's perfectly fine. Like, I want to see baby's latch anyways. But just having a little bit of space for them is great. And so those, like, most of those things are all within the hours that I'm at the office anyways. So I have my boundaries of, when I'm available for my practice and when I'm available for my family. So in the summer, my husband's a teacher and he works in the summer, but it's more flexible than it is during the school year. And so I can do home visits a little bit more easily than I can during the school year, just because my husband's here and I can go and the kids are taken care of. But those are some of the things. And for me, I really like to be clear on what my boundaries are and what I am willing to do and am not willing to do. That way, when I come to, like, whenever something's offered, then I have a little bit of an intention behind it of, oh, that's one of those things I'm not comfortable with, so I'm not going to do that, even though it sounds nice. Or that is one of the things that I am comfortable with, so yes, I will do it. And so I like to prioritize my priority list. And I like to set my physical boundaries. Like, every once in a while, I'll just kind of write out what my schedule looks like. And I don't do this too often. I just kind of do it as like a check-in to see, like, all right, my top priorities. So after I've prioritized my priority list, like, my top priorities are my family, my health, and my businesses. And so with those three things, how is my time set up? Does it look like those are my top three priorities or not? And then kind of revisiting what those look like. So I guess this is kind of a roundabout way of answering your question, but support can look like a whole bunch of different things, but being able to offer that support because it's within the parameters of the boundaries that I'm comfortable with is probably what's going to allow me to continue to do it for a while instead of burning out.
Nice. I love that. And it's refreshing. I thought that you were going to say that you have all of these things going on in your practice, and preconception can come to this, and this can happen, and this can happen, and this can happen, and it's nice to hear. It's just within the confines of me serving them and still being able to serve my family. And I personally don't call any of that balance, because I think if we're balanced, it means that something is not okay. To me, I know what I have to do in practice to fulfill my mission, and I'm obsessed with that fulfillment. Then when I'm at home, practice is off, and I'm obsessed with fulfilling and taking care of my family. then when I'm this thing, this whole idea of balance. And I think honestly, it's one of the big areas that we as women have been led astray, is that, oh, you got to wear all your hats at the same time.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Because if you wear them all, that's probably not going to be so good for you.
And you just look ridiculous with that many hats on.
You would look ridiculous with that many hats on and be so confused. What way am I supposed to talk? Right? Am I supposed to be doing like, get your chores done? If I said that to my practice members, that'd be really awkward.
Right.
Maybe some parents would like me to say that to their children, but at any rate,
Elizabeth Bachner, the midwife, she's the director for the Graceful Birthing Center. She actually spoke at last year's BirthFit Summit and this year's BirthFit Summit, and she's awesome. But she talks about the different hats that we as women wear. And so in birth, I need to take, like when I am birthing, I need to take off my chiropractor hat. I need to take off my BirthFit regional director hat. I need to take off my BirthFit COO hat. I need to take off my wife hat. I only need to be wearing the birthing mother hat.
Yes.
That's the only hat I
my back plug. Just a second. We must just be cranking through my power today. That's pretty cool. That's a really great way to look at it. And that's a really great check-in point too, is, am I feeling like bogged down? And if I am, how many hats am I wearing?
Right. How heavy is my head?
Yeah. Am I only wearing the hat that I need for this thing that I'm doing right now, so I can give it my undivided attention, focus, love, like energy, intention, all of those things. I love that idea.
Yeah. Well, that way you can show up. But the same thing, like if I go to a birth because a woman wants me to adjust her, then I need to take off my own like birthing mother hat. Like I'm not feeling what she's feeling. I can be empathetic without wearing that hat. I'm a chiropractor and I'm here to offer my services to this woman. I'm not a doula in that role. Like I'm not her sister. I'm not her mom. I'm not any of those other hats that I might wear.
Nice.
So that like when you show up to the event, you are wearing the correct attire.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really great way to look at it. And hey, Carol, thanks for joining us. It's great to see you. All right. So as we wrap this up, what final words do you have on this broadcast? Because I for sure want to do more together. I just love you guys so much. I am talking to Melissa, about all of us doing something together.
Okay. Well, Magic Mel, she can make things happen.
Magic Mel.
That's what we call her. It's a well-deserved nickname.
When I was talking to this, I guess it was the end of last week, I'm like, yeah, took on another one. Good job, girl. She's incredible.
Yeah.
Magic Mel. That's better than Magic Mike.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have a Magic Mel than a Magic Mike, because Magic Mel can do
that I have a Magic Mel in my life.
Okay, so last minute word.
Final thoughts. I guess kind of along the lines of just the theme of what we talked about with support, that it can look however it needs to look. You can ask for support in ways that you wouldn't think that you needed to, and you can give support in ways that you wouldn't necessarily have thought of. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a completely empty cup in order to ask for help, and it doesn't mean that you have to completely empty yours in order to give to somebody else's. I think in general, support can be however it needs to be, and that hopefully will help us all. So help us as chiropractors, help us as women in the world, help us as, just brothers and sisters and humans, that if we don't wait until we're at the end of our rope to ask for a little extra, and that we don't wait until we see somebody dangling from the end of their rope before we reach out to help, I think that would go a long way.
That's a great point, to ask for help and to bring things up if you notice somebody else is slipping. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to get to be the very end before you either ask for help or offer help. And I think, I think so often we don't want someone to think that we think poorly of them or that we're nosy. And it all really just comes from how you approach it. But I would always err on the side of, I may be totally off my rocker here, but these are some of the things I've observed. Do you need my help? Like, I don't know if I can help you, but I at least I have 2 of these and they work pretty good. I can listen to what you have to say.
Yeah. And I think too that when you're sincere about that offer, when you say, hey, how are you? You're not really asking. When you say, hey, how are you? Like, you're asking, right? You want to know the answer to that. And so when you say, is there anything I can do to help? But like, I am thinking that if I was in your situation, I might like a little extra help. I could come and do your laundry, or I could bring you a meal. Would that sound good to you? And usually people will still brush you off a little bit. And sometimes I'll just call them out on it. Like, what would it feel like if you accepted help right now?
I love that question.
Yeah, I learned that from Magic Mel.
I was going to say that had to be a Magic Mel question.
Yeah, but like, I had a mom who she literally, like, she was getting bothered because a couple of people had said things to her like, "Oh my gosh, you look so tiny," and she was like, "I'm not trying to be tiny right now. Like, I'm 5 months postpartum, and I think honestly, like, I'm kind of just not paying as much attention to whether I've eaten because I'm so worried about taking care of my daughter." And I said, did you ever do a meal train postpartum? And she was like, well, no, like, we're totally fine. And I said, you just told me that you're not eating. So it sounds like maybe you could use some food. She was like, yeah, but I'm 5 months postpartum. I said, yeah, you just had a baby.
Like, yes.
You're 5 months postpartum. You just had a baby 5 months ago. That just happened. Yeah. That's not like, we're supposed to be all figured things out by 5 months. No, that's nonsense. And if you're 18 months postpartum and you need some help, ask your friends to cook you dinner. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
The more that I become comfortable with my own boundaries, I recognize that asking people for help means that they have the right of refusal. They can say no, but I think we assume that people would say no, but really, like, they want to help you. Our friends and family, they want to help, and that's why they're in our circles, right?
Well, and I think that, when we don't ask people if they can help us, we rob them of the joy and the pleasure of them doing that. Like, there's something, like, if I came over to your house and you were, I don't know, making us dinner or doing something, when you tell me, hey, Barb, can you like set the table or do something? I think it also communicates a level of, I respect you. Hey, Ashley, I think you have value, versus like somebody who I'm like, I don't know where your hands were last. I may not want, I may not want them to, but like, there's a sense of relationship and friendship when we ask people for help. I also think I'm like you. My husband's always like, why do you ask people to help all the time? I'm like, I don't know, they can say no. He's like, but no one's going to say no to you. I'm like, well, that's not my problem.
That's not my problem.
If you don't want to help, yeah. Or like when I ask people questions to get to know them, he's like, you make people uncomfortable. I'm like, all they have to say is stop asking me questions. Like, I'm curious about who they are. Like, I think that's communicating. I value you enough. Like, I find you interesting enough that I want to ask you a question, but
I want to peel back the layers.
Like, who are you? I think you're pretty cool, or whatever. Like, you just make people feel uncomfortable. I'm like, that's why I hang out with chiropractors, because
we're fine with it.
That's right. We're all like, we've been touching each other's butts since like trimester 1, right?
Yeah, we have no problem being awkward.
I remember actually, I went to Logan, right? Brown thumb.
Oh, so you really were.
Yeah, it was like literally skin on skin, right? It was like, it's another butt. No one cares. Yeah. But I remember, and like, like after an adjustment, I just liked touching my practice members. I liked knowing, like, all right, like, I just got it. You know what I mean? and I would put my hand on their butt and not even think about it, right? Like I'm on your sacrum. I'm just kind of like, everything good. And I guess one time I didn't to one of my practice members, Jim, and I'm like, okay, Jim. And I would do that was right. Like tap out, like you're right. Done kind of thing. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, your time to go. He's like, you didn't do that, like the touch the butt thing. I'm like, what are you talking about? The touch the butt thing. It was so funny. But yeah, so there was another story that was just totally random. But yes, I love Mumma too, Ashley.
I love Ashley too.
Yeah, we all have this like love thing for each other, which is fabulous. I love to see it in our profession. Yes. That women are loving on each other. So let's do more of this. So stay tuned, all of you, for some cool things happening with the relationships that are forming with boot camp and Birthfit and all of these wonderful women and men who make up Birthfit. So Lindsay, tell your family, thank you for sharing you tonight. Yeah. I really appreciate it. And it was fun. It was fun. It was fun being together this evening. So we'll do it again soon.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Hey, thanks. Have a nice evening.
You too. Bye, everybody.
Bye.